In the distant past, during a time when the 5 traditional schools of crafting still stood strong in Inazuma, when the opening act of Inazuma's greatest play was beginning, the playwright herself couldn't predict what was about to pass. The master of the 5 traditional schools, Beelzebul, would create the first prototype for her Raiden Shogun puppet, one that is able to carry the Gnosis as its heart. The prototype was noble and prestigious and would be proof of transcendence. However, it had a flaw that Beelzebul didn't need. The prototype would shed tears in his dreams, and Beelzebul would see this as a sign of fragility. For whether he would be a human or a tool, she did not need weakness. Though she did not have the heart to destroy the prototype, she instead would allow it to slumber for all eternity. The puppet was laid to rest in the Shake Pavilion. Time would pass by without him as he slumbered in this place, until a tragedy would strike in the nearby area. The people of Tatarasuna would come to find the pavilion, and there the slumbering prototype. The prototype was in possession of ornaments that proved his allegiance and importance to the divine shogun, which would rise as an opportunity for the people. For they were in dire straits and require assistance. They would attempt to wake the prototype, and even without a heart, by some fluke, the prototype would awake from its slumber. He would no longer remember who he was, and could not even remember his own name. Despite this, the people of Tatarasuna would request for his aid, for his proof of identity, granted by the almighty shogun, was enough. The prototype would spend a few nights in Tatarasuna and its burning furnace flames, but would eventually leave towards the Narukami to search for aid. On his way out, a child would ask him, "Where are you going, wanderer?" The child was ill, but he still saw the prototype clearly. The prototype would tell the child that he was bound for Inazuma City. The child feared for the prototype's safety, for there was a powerful storm that blew. The child would warn the prototype, "But it's raining really hard right now. They say the people who left haven't returned." The prototype paid no heed to the child, not understanding his words and meaning of concern. He could only give the child a small smile. The next time he set foot on Tatarasuna, the child could no longer be found. He would travel towards Inazuma City, and on his way he would observe the people of Inazuma. He saw different emotions of the people, and found many a heart. Good ones, upright ones, strong ones, and even gentle ones. The prototype too would desire a heart of his own. Each person he met would inform him about the gold ornament that he carried and its importance, giving him aid when he needed it. He met a kind young deputy who told him, "This gold ornament is proof of identity granted by the almighty shogun. But as you travel the world, please bear this in mind, never to reveal your identity to others." After that deputy, he would meet an upright inspector. Though he didn't know how to deal with the prototype, he would try to lend him aid. He said, "This gold ornament is proof of identity granted by the almighty shogun. But you are neither man nor mechanism, and so I can only deal with you in this fashion. Do not hold this against me." Next, he would come upon a pair of expectant eyes. "This gold ornament is proof of identity granted by the almighty shogun. It must surely be able to save the people." He would finally stumble his way to the Grand Narukami Shrine, where he would meet with an intelligent and lovely Shrine Maiden. The Shrine Maiden would look upon him and say, "This gold ornament is a proof of identity granted by the almighty shogun, and she will not abandon you. As for me, I shall do my best to send for help immediately." But in the end, the golden arrow feather would be covered in dust, and all tales were incinerated in karmic flames till nothing remained. Years passed, and the prototype would be left wandering the lands of Inazuma, where he would eventually be found by a fool, and would offer him a chance to see the rest of Teyvat. The prototype and the fool would come to the harbor, where a guard posted there would stop the prototype. "Where are you going, Inazuman? This boat is not for you." The prototype no longer had the kindness, the patience, nor the curiosity to deal with such troublesome matters, and would draw his blade, but before he could, the fool would stop him. The guard recognized the fool. "Ah, so he's your guest, sir. My apologies for my presumption." The fool would give a coat to the prototype to stave away the cold during their travels, but the prototype would shake his head. He had no need for such things, as he was not human. He only wished to know what interesting things he might find on his journey. Centuries pass and the prototype would once again board a ship. A person would greet him and ask, "Lord Harbinger, where are you headed?" The Harbinger hated chatty humans and slapped the man with the back of his hand. He loved the expressions humans would make upon seeing his cruelty, expressions of terror and helplessness. And it was only these expressions that he even kept these humans around. He told the groveling, quailing figure that they were headed east, for Mondstadt. His subordinate told him, "I understand. I'll get your bodyguards ready now." He had no need for guards, of course, but he was lazier still to barter words with cretins. He donned his wanderer's hat and headed eastward alone. The prototype now goes by many names. The name he gave upon himself is Kuni Kuzushi. Such characters are schemers and usurpers of nations. However, the fool gave him a name as well, and he is well known in the ranks of the Fatui as a harbinger named Scaramouche. There he came to meet a traveler from the stars, a young girl who speaks in a grandiose way, accompanied by an electric bird and a strange creature that floats and seems out of place. He wished to come to blows with the traveler, but due to the falling of stars, would instead learn more about the world and the false sky. He would not be able to fight the traveler here, for there are much more important matters, one that the fool did not tell him. Scaramouche would then return to his homeland of Inazuma, as ordered by the fool. On his way, he was stopped by an old woman who asked, "Child, where are you going?" He told her that he was going west. "To Yashiori Island then? What business are you on?" she said thoughtlessly, knowing only that things had not been peaceful as of late. Scaramouche would remember the young child he had met in Tatarasuna. He would look at the old woman and thank her for her concern with an earnest smile, and tell her that he was bound for an appointed meeting. As his boat gradually approached the shore of Yashiori Island, a lady in foreign garb could be seen standing by the shoreline. She threw a small crystal sphere at Scaramouche from afar. Catching it with ease, he lifted it up to the dying, bloodied sun. He would then meet the traveler once more and come face to face with his own heart once again. He would finally obtain the heart of his desire. It felt right. It felt perfect. It was, after all, his purpose for being, his raison d'etre. Yet, it was not at all what Scaramouche had envisioned, for this heart did not contain any blessings, but instead it was a sacrifice brimming with selfishness, hypocrisy, cunning, and curses, all wrapped in an amiable husk. Good and evil were the song of sentient life, useless and cacophonous. But if he were to wrench his heart out, he would no longer be able to feel anything at all. This lore from the husk of opulent dreams describes Scaramouche's past and present. This next part is a theory about his future. This has not yet come to pass, but thanks to the lore of the artifact set, we have a good idea on what could happen in the future, and why Scaramouche would probably become playable. If you watched my Senora lore video and my theory about the Jester's power, then you might know that when Senora died, she woke up from her long dream. It seems this will also happen to Scaramouche, but he does not die and instead breaks away from the dream. It reads as follows. What he saw in his dream was a phantom dancing to the music under the moonlight, just like the young man in the distant past, who was akin to a blank sheet of paper, and like a pure yet fragile persona, emerging once the resentment and suffering had dissipated. The wanderer did not know that he had any faculties for dreaming, thinking that this must have been the researcher's little trick, or perhaps it was an infinitesimal resistance of that bygone heart. You once acquired the heart that you always dreamed of, but it was but a mere prop for lies and deception. Now, you will finally obtain what belongs to you, and this false construct of a body can at last aspire to power over this world. Yet this is all but a fleeting dream of glory, and it will all one day drift away amidst the sighs of a suffering earth. Was it a him from the past who said this, or a him from the future? The vagrant cared not, for when he awakened, it was not he, but the ethereal future that dissipated. After he awoke from the dream, he did not die like Signora or Durin. Instead, it was the delusion that dissipated, allowing him to break away from the Jester's hold over him. But this is just my theory. What do you guys think? Do you think Scaramouche will be free from the Jester's plans? Or do you think this is just part of his dream? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you liked that video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.